Fight commentary breakdowns here. We had a lot of requests in the past, and we didn't get to it until now, to look at Dan Lok. And Dan Lok is a millionaire. He's also a lover of Wing Chun. So he came out, besides his online marketing course, he has a Wing Chun course. So we decided just to look at one of the videos. This video is about in English it's called Tan Sao. If you translate it into Mandarin, it means Tan Sau. Shou means hand. Tan is laid out. So this is kind of like when you think Wing Chun, a lot of people see this move. You know, Ding Hao, when he was fighting Ahu, he started like this, right? He started like this. So it looks like you've even seen Silala kind of just go like this.
Yeah.
So now I know what this is called. And this is called the Tan Sau, the Tan Sau.
It's like that traditional sort of Bruce Lee,
yeah, exactly.
Neo thing.
Exactly. So the way Dan Lok was teaching it, you can kind of use it as there's a lot of block and attack, so defend and offense type of moves in JKD and Wing Chun. So the way Dan Lok was teaching it, this kind of thing. So it's about the angle. It's kind of use the bone against the bone, and I'm turning it, but you could also use this side, so kind of like that kind of thing. So that's kind of how he's teaching. Again, I'm not doing it completely right because I haven't practiced my Tan Sau. I've seen this a lot when you kind of teach these type of drills, is that nobody throws a hook the way that the hook was thrown in the video. That hook, not only was it really telegraphed, was really off balance too.
Untrained fighters might throw that.
Yeah. You know how we always see when Wing Chun steps into the ring with someone that's trained, how they always never do well? I think part of it is just that. You're training so much against people that have never thrown anything, right? So you think, but you go into the ring with anyone that's throwing with intention, throwing with adrenaline, throwing with skill, you can't do any of this technique on them.
There can be some modifications to what is being done there, because it can be very effective when I can feel your force that's going in a diagonal, when it's when it's angling off, I can tell that's actually quite helpful. If you do it at the right spot, it can be preventative.
I see.
For a sambo looping hook, because usually what they do is they'll point their knuckles inward like this, and they'll go like this. So I can tell that as long as you're not blocking force with force, a lot of times in old karate you would have these sort of blocks that are force and force. Those things, you're still taking damage. But if you're using ways that are slightly more intelligent, that are creating glancing blows, or in this case it's a glancing defense. This is you're deflecting my force. My force was going this direction and it's been deflected in a separate direction. Anytime you can deflect the energy as opposed to trying to stop the energy, it's way better.
I remember when I first started learning a little bit about American Kempo, a lot of their blocks were the same. They weren't blocks like in Kung Fu and Karate where you're literally going force against force. Instead, it's how do you kind of glance the force a little bit. So
and you'll see this in Muay Thai as well. Typically what happens is you have a structure that creates a glance. If it's a high kick, it will glance off the top, or here it'll glance downward. Right? You don't ever want to hit directly force against force. Create the glance and then let the force be deflected.
Thinking about, usually the Tan Sau is we're kind of adding something more, right? Again, that's just my interpretation. I usually see it there's some other move in addition to it. I guess if you train that along with combos, it could be incorporated in your regimen, but I just again want to caution them. If you're used to practicing that on people who throw really wide haymakers, make sure to at least try it with people who throw very tight hooks and stuff like that.
If a professional fighter is throwing one of those really sometimes what they'll do is they'll time it. They'll try and go blow for blow, and then they'll say, okay, I know that I'm in range here, and they'll go low, and then they'll move their head off center line a little bit, and then they'll come in high, right? Because they want to land a power shot. If you can time that right, that's another one of those that can be deflected. But they're thinking ahead. They're thinking the only time I'm going to throw this is when this person is on the on the back pedal. You know what I mean? They're only going to throw this wild looping punch when it's at the very end of a combination. You know? So it's not like it's a one-off. If they throw it as a one-off, they're gonna get exactly countered like that.
Yeah, exactly. In a non-Wing Chun kind of context, if they're throwing that as a one-off, you can easily duck it or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Usually those punches prime example of this, probably the KO of the year maybe, Beneil Dariush just did this. Do you remember this last KO? He was going blow for blow with this, his opponent, he rocked him. And you could tell the guy was rocked. And his opponent was backpedaling, and as soon as his opponent was about to hit the fence and he had nowhere else to go, Vinny was able to gauge the distance perfectly, and he timed it perfectly. And because the guy didn't have his wits about him to create those glancing blows, he took one right on the chin.
Wow. But
Beneil Dariush is a very smart fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes from very good stock. I think both of his parents are physicians. Like he's a very cerebral fighter.
Wow.
So he's not going to be throwing these looping punches in one-offs.
Yeah.
He's timing them for the appropriate, moment.
Applying what Rob said, maybe for a Wing Chun practitioner, if you're going to practice the Tan Sau, maybe what you do is you practice it with head movement or something. Or you practice it with footwork. So that way you're practicing dodging a combo, and if he times that last one, then you can do the Tan Sau or something like that. Just my thought.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about not engaging in dogfights. They make it dirty. Prime example of this would be like Wanderlei Silva. Like Wanderlei Silva's his game plan was to draw people into these wild exchanges.
And he did that 3 times against Sakuraba. He knocked Sakuraba 3 times out, I believe, like doing that. He'd be like, yeah, come blow with me, and then boom. Destroy Sakuraba, my favorite fighter of all time. Kung Lee's my second. Sorry, Kung Lee. I know, I love you, but Sakuraba's still up there. This is a little critique of the Dan Lok Tan Sau tutorial. If you guys want more Dan Lok tutorials, he had one. Wing Chun versus boxing. So if you want us to look at that, maybe we'll look at that. But not trying to discredit anyone or trying to make blanket statements. We're just trying to explore different things, different flares, and see how they can be applied.
Rickson Gracie talks about what's called invisible jiu-jitsu. And what he's talking about there is that there's little tiny things that you have to take into account that can dramatically increase your chances of domination. So, and this is one of them, where it's like, where do I plant the block? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just as important, the where and the timing and the placement. You know what I mean? Like all those things are incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think learning from Rob here in, let's say, a real cage or ring can't really be used. I think what it's still very good at is just practicing angles, practicing kind of leverage. It's just like a lot of jiu-jitsu drills. You're not going to use it on the street, but you will understand human body mechanics well. So I guess one thing that you can use Tan Sau for is just remember, okay, maybe I'm not going to use this on the street per se, but now I can really explore, okay, where do I hit? Where do I hit in his arm where it, like, I won't feel at risk of like getting hit? You know, this is one of those things. It's like a body mechanics / like proprioception type of exercise. So interesting.
And what are they throwing? This right here, when you come in this direction, and I can feel that's effective. If I'm throwing a lead left hook, that's fairly effective. If I'm throwing a this is different though.
Yeah, this is much different.
Like this is my power, like a strong power cross. I have more distance here where I can potentially land.
Yeah, true.
So this is different than this.
Yeah.
Right, this is my sambo throw. This is my traditional sort of boxing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so what they're throwing is important.
Yeah. Dan Lok, I'd love to hear your reply. I know you're busy. You're a millionaire, but you know we got a lot of requests, so there's probably some cross audience. So this was Fight Commentary Breakdowns. Again, thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, man.
Learned a lot. Always learn a lot from him. People are like, Jerry, why do you bring up people who know more than you? I'm like, isn't that the point of life? You gotta learn.
Point, man. That's the way to do it, man.
Exactly. And guys, if any of you know Wing Chun and stuff, please leave your comments. Let us know if like we misinterpreted the Tan Sau or Dan Lok misinterpreted Tan Sau, etc.
Yes. Always roll with higher belts and keep learning.
Fight Commentary Breakdowns.